Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara till the break of dawn is on the rise.
Hey, y'all. It's me, Tamra. Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to the show. For all my new listeners, new episodes typically drop every Thursday. I talk about my life, my interests, and the ways I'm trying to grow. So come on back through, you feel me? And for all of my day 1 to 89, 123, 200 even, whatever week you came in and you was like, you know what, I'm finna come back. I appreciate you. You know what I mean? It is the end of season 9. This is the last episode of season 9, but don't you worry your pretty little heads, because real ones know I don't take no breaks. You feel me? I might be late sometimes, a lot more than I remember. There was a time I was never late. Actually, that's not true because, I don't know. But like the way I've been late a lot lately, it's just, I'm just trying to figure out my life, y'all. But yes, the end of season 9, which is crazy that I'm about to start the 10th season of this show. And what's really interesting is that, and I was talking to Lindsey about this the other day, is that like the seasons typically, because it's about my life and the ways I'm trying to grow, like there are usually certain themes within a season. And I would definitely say that in this season, in season 9 of this show, man, the ways that I have grown in vulnerability, and man, it's crazy because I don't even like crying like that, like at all. And when I tell you, I cry a lot. I cried earlier today. I cried earlier this week. Matter of fact, on Sunday, right, we had an event for work. I cried in front of people, right? Not only that, I cried on somebody's shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has just been a time where the Lord has been doing a lot in my heart and mind, bringing so much healing, though. Like, that's the beautiful thing about it, is vulnerability is uncomfortable for sure, but I'm just super grateful that I have people that I can be vulnerable around, and, you know, just safe spaces and all that. So yeah, it has been a very, very interesting week, and I have not made any progress. I mean, I don't know. Like I said last week when I was talking about I'm tired of being fake in this one particular area of my life, I don't even know what it like. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know. It's just I'm just really wrestling with something, and I don't know. And it's so funny because I used to be such a different person when it comes to this area of my life, and I would have been like, but I'm not that person anymore. And honestly, I don't know if I'm supposed to be. I don't even really know. This is such a unique situation. It's unlike anything else that could even be remotely related to this. And so, I don't really know what to do about that. But y'all, guess what? Guess what? Oh my goodness. Okay, listen. Over 2 years ago is when I stopped having my own vehicle. Like, I had a work vehicle that I had access to for a while, but I haven't had my own vehicle in over 2 years until right now. I finally, man, it's so, woo, I wish the studio audience was here to applaud the fact that I finally have my own vehicle again. And it's so crazy because, man, shout out. It's so funny. I had 3 different conversations with, I'm going to just say their names, okay? So there's somebody named Adam, that's my boss. There's somebody named Burke, that's a coworker. There's somebody named Caleb, who's a coworker, but also like, I mean, I'm friends with all of them, but he's like a really, really good friend. So I've had conversations with all of them, and Caleb is the one who was my main source of transportation these past 3 weeks while I did not have any vehicle at all. And I had conversations with them over the past 3 weeks, and each of them in separate times kept. So here was my biggest frustration, or I guess thing I was wrestling with. I'm staying with somebody, and then I also needed a car of my own. So like my thing was like, while I'm saving money, I need both of these things. Like, what should I do? And so I had so many different conversations with them about it, especially Caleb, because that was my, main transportation. And it's so interesting because all of them told me that I should get a car first. And I would hear what they were saying, but I wasn't really hearing them. You feel me? But then last Thursday, Caleb and I had this conversation, and it's just so crazy how I just never really thought of it like that, and just how pivotal that was to how quickly things moved after that. Because one of the things he said was, of course, again, I think you should get a car first for your own sanity and blah, blah, blah. Mainly because I just got to this point where like I felt so super dependent on people, and I wasn't comfortable with that. And then I also felt like I had like no control because, I'm not in my own place. And so I don't have any control about whatever happens in here. Nothing bad happens. Don't get me wrong. It's crazy how like my phone is definitely on do not disturb. So it's just, I'm not even understanding how they was able to break through that, but it is what it is anyways. And so like nothing bad's happening when where I'm staying or anything like that, but it's just like, it's not my house. I don't have no control. Right. Then when I was riding with everybody, I was on everybody else's timetable as far as like when I would leave or, whatever. Right. So I would talk to him about that. And one of the things he said was that, and this is honestly what just shifted my perspective on this, because it was, I need to move and I need a vehicle. What do I need to do first? Right. And so he was like, I think you should get a car, because if you live with someone, but you have your own car, you can have some independence, and you can go where you need to go and like just have some sort of freedom. He was like, but if you move and you don't have a car, you are going to still have to be dependent on people to get where you need to go and whatever. And there was just something about that it just clicked for me. Like, I need to get a car. And so I was actually going to try to lease, because I figured that would be easier, because cars are expensive. But, and so the next day, it's such a cool story. So the next day, I had a conversation with Burke, because I wanted to get because I wanted to get his perspective on like leasing cars, because I've never done that before. So then I filled out this online credit application or whatever for this car dealership in town, right? And it was a Friday, granted, but dealerships be open every day. You know what I'm saying? So Friday, I'm like, okay, they close, like I submitted it, I want to say like 2 or something like that. And I'm like, okay, they probably won't get back to me today because they closed at like 5 or 6. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Saturday go by, I don't hear nothing. I'm like, I know y'all open. Sunday go by, right? So Sunday comes, and I was talking to somebody that's on the content team, and we were like scheduling a time to meet up or whatever. And then in the midst of, what the heck am I saying? Amidst that conversation, while we was talking, right, I find out she's a car salesman. And so I was like, dang, I wish I knew that, because I just submitted this online, credit inquiry or whatever for this other dealership. Cause when you start doing stuff like that, it is a hard, I forget what it's called. We'll just call it a hard inquiry. I don't know if that's the actual terminology, but you know what I mean? Like, they check your credit and it pulls, and then it like drops your credit score a little bit. And so I was like, dang, I wish I knew whatever, because I just did that the other day. And then I looked and I'm like, well, it only brought it down 3 points. So, like, maybe, okay. And so I was like, well, maybe I was not supposed to go through them, and that's why they haven't gotten back to me. And so I'm going to just pray that if I'm not supposed to go through them, because this is how things work in my life, if I'm not supposed to go through them, then they won't get back to me. And then she was like, okay, well, when I'm in the office tomorrow, I'm going to email you our credit application. She was like, don't fill it out right away, because she was thinking like I was thinking, like that hard inquiry or whatever the heck it's called, and how that drops your credit score. So the next day when she emailed it to me or whatever, I just really feel like the Lord was like, fill it out. So we had some staff meetings, and then there was about a 3-hour gap in between the staff meetings. And I was just going to stay at the building because the other meeting was at the building, and I didn't really feel like worrying about how to get back and forth and having rides and all that stuff. So I just waited at the building, and I just really felt like, instead of whatever I initially planned to do, that I was supposed to fill out this application and like get things going. So I did it or whatever. I text her. She's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna have my boss, do his thing, whoop-de-woo. She asked me like, how much should I have to put down? Kind of like what were my non-negotiables, and then also what was I comfortable paying a month for payments or whatever. So I told her all that information, right? And I want to say within a couple of hours max, maybe 3, we'll say max, she texts me back with a car that now I'm not leasing, buying. And that's fine, because then what I started thinking, so I don't drive a ton, but the mileage limitations that they have with leasing were not my concern. What my concern became, because of a conversation I had with somebody else, is that, like, if you what is it, like scratches, dings, and all that, like they're super whatever about that. And that's kind of what I started getting nervous about. Like, dang, I don't really know if I want to, because you can't control what other people do or what happens. And it's really expensive to get it fixed, because they don't want you to go like anywhere else. They want you to go where they want you to go or whatever. And so I kind of started thinking that, but I was like, well, we'll see what happens. So, like I said, within a few hours, I was able to get a listing for, the car that I could get approved for or whatever. And based on like what I wanted to pay every month and, all that stuff. And she was like, this is the only car that we have in inventory, and let me know what you think. And so I was like, okay, well, I gave her how much I could put down, but it was like at the lower end of how much money I actually had. Like, I didn't really want to put more than what I put down, but I could have, but I didn't want to. So they were going to accept that. It's less than what my max was for how much I'm comfortable paying a month. My only other non-negotiable, honestly, was that it be a SUV. Now, not like some big SUV, because it's just me that's going to be in the car probably like 95% of the time, unless I happen to give one of my kids a ride somewhere, if that's ever needed, or if I go somewhere with somebody and they happen to like hop in with me, you know what I mean? But other than that, I want an SUV. And then I didn't really have any other non-negotiables. So it met that non-negotiable, but then it's like, it has features that I wouldn't have necessarily thought about or cared about. Like, it has it's not a new car, it's a newer to me, but new to me but not brand new car. Like heated steering wheel, that's cool. heated seats is kind of becoming more and more standard. Like my work vehicle, which was like I think a '06, that had heated seats. So it has heated seats, but it has leather seats and it has the cooling seats, which I love that because in the summertime it gets hot, you know what I mean? And so that's cool. It has Apple CarPlay, the last car that I had. I mean, I guess Android too, but I don't have an Android. So yeah. But the last car that I had didn't have that. It has a moon roof. I kind of always wanted something like that. And it's like it actually opens. It's a what is it? It's a Kia Niro. Never heard of it, but it's a cute little SUV or whatever. It's white with black interior, and she was like, after I got approved for it, two people tried to come in and buy it. So she was like, if I would have waited any longer to where they hadn't already like approved and did whatever, the car might not have been there. So it's just like me feeling like the Lord said, hey, you need to do that. And me actually listening, like, worked out in my favor. So yeah, I am finally like, it's just crazy because I've only been without a vehicle completely for 3 weeks, or had been for like 3 weeks. But then it's like, that's when I started thinking about like, wait a minute, that wasn't my car though. So like, I haven't had my own in like 2 years now. Never, I always got where I needed to go, could use this car, or use that car, or whatever. So, and then for a while I was working from home anyway in the beginning, so it really didn't matter. But it just really got to this point because Caleb, now that I'm out here saying names on here, the reason why he was my main source of transportation is because I lived on the way. I mean, we worked together, we go to the same gym. That would be pretty much the only places I would go, is like work in the gym. And I live on the way from where he used to live. Well, he moved last week and now he's closer to everywhere that we go. Now, granted, he did say we could still work whatever out for him to give me rides or whatever, but I just wasn't comfortable with that because I'm just like, bruh, I'm like way out the way. Like, you're literally having to drive further away from where you're trying to go. Come pick me. Like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Even I'm the type of person that something like that, even if somebody offered me gas money, like my time, especially right for a while, it's been my time is more valuable. You know what I mean? So like, nah. And so that's kind of like, I remember telling him like how just anxious I felt about how things were going to pan out once he moved, because I just really didn't want to have that just extra time that he was going to have to do whatever. So I really was at the threshold of, all right, God, and it just worked out. And I'm so happy, y'all. Like, yeah, just, it feels so good. And also the thing about that work car is like, there were like issues with it at times, and so it's kind of like, yeah, I had something, but it's not like it was just, I was grateful for it, don't get me wrong, but yeah. So I'm so happy, y'all. Like, man, you don't even understand. Like, it's crazy. It don't even feel real. It hasn't even been a week yet, but it's literally perfect timing. Like, they always say, I always see stuff, and I know it's true from my own experience. Things don't always happen when we want them to. Cause if it was up to me, I wouldn't have went 3 weeks without a car at all. You know what I mean? So things don't always happen when we want them to, but man, they definitely happen right on time. And so that's my encouragement to y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep pressing forward, keep hoping, keep believing, but also I just think about all the conversations that I had with those three in particular, where many different times they were like, I think you should get a car first. I think you need to get a car first. And every time I just kind of dismissed it. And it's just interesting because it's almost like the Lord was trying to tell me whatever. And yeah, finally he got through to me though, right? So like heed that stuff too. Like when God is trying to tell you whatever, like listen to it. So yeah, that is the update for this week. It is such a busy season with work because Easter's coming up and we just have so many things going on. It's not even just that. We're like launching a second church campus. And so it has been such a, like, this last week was crazy to where I'm like kind of behind. I am, but I'm not, but I am, but I'm not. But there's like nothing that really could have been done about it. Because the thing about my work is, a lot of my work is, it's so many different things actually. So I can't even say it's just one thing, but it's like I write, for different things. I am the producer in content shoots. I help schedule content shoots. I'm trying to think of whatever. Project management. I think that does not cover everything because then at the same time, it may be something else. Like it just depending on what's going on. But when we have like events, it's like as staff we'll be there, you know what I'm saying? And so then when you have longer days, it just makes it trickier to get any of my administrative tasks done. So this has been like a really crazy week. Then plus had to go to the dealership to unexpectedly buy a car. Hey, not complaining. Some friends of mine got married last weekend or whatever. And so it has just been like a really busy week amidst a really busy season because we're gearing up for Easter. And like I'm the marketing director at a church. So obviously we do a lot with marketing and content and whatever, because that's my full-time job. And so it is a very, very, like, we had a worship video shoot, which this is probably our, I think, third one that I've been a part of. The first one they did in the summer, I was not even on staff yet. And when it was scheduled for, I couldn't go, which I'm not complaining because it was like really super hot that day and they was outside. So I was like, but I think so that was the first one. Then we had, so this is our third, if I'm not mistaken, worship video shoot. And like the really dope thing about our worship team, besides being anointed, which I think that's even more important than being talented, but like there are some really talented musicians, and vocalists. I've learned so much about different language, and then some stuff I don't be knowing what they talking about. It just is what it is. But there are so many talented vocalists and musicians, and so it's a very, very, very busy time. And at the same time though, the busyness, like, it's busy, but it's like good busy because the work that I do is meaningful to me and I get to do creative stuff. Like earlier today, I was the producer they were doing some content via StreamYard. Now, if any of y'all know anything about when I used to have visuals, that's how I record via StreamYard. Now, technically, I still record via StreamYard. I just am not going to record and upload visuals until I get, back in my own place so I can have my setup, because my other monitors are in storage and, whatnot. But yeah, so like being the producer via StreamYard, and it's something I'm so familiar with. It's like I was asked to do it and I kind of just knew what to do. So like it's very like a lot of the things I just have experience with and how it just works out in my favor. Like it's really cool how like skills I already have are just I could be asked to do some of the most, it's not random because obviously this is, God equipped me for this, I should say, but it's almost random to be asked, hey, because my boss who normally is on it and does it is off today. You know what I mean? And so to be able to be asked to do that and not even needed any training. We just had a quick phone call because I wanted to just kind of get almost like a run sheet. Not really, but just something I kind of needed to know on like the order and how they do it. And that was it. You know what I mean? So yeah, really, really cool. Super, man, y'all don't even understand how happy I am to have this. It's so funny because I say vehicle and then sometimes I say car, but I usually say vehicle because it's not a car. It's technically a SUV, but I don't, for whatever reason, I don't want to be like my SUV. That just sounds, I don't know. I don't like how that sounds. But it's not a car, technically. I guess I could say automobile. Maybe I'll start saying that. But that's why I always say vehicle in case anybody was wondering. Super random. But yeah. So thank you so much for tuning in, y'all. As always, make sure you are taking care of yourself mentally. Like all this crying I'm doing, hey, sometimes I don't even know what's going on, and the only release I have is crying, and it's super healthy. And make sure you take care of yourself emotionally, works for that too. Make sure you take care of yourself spiritually. Like I always say, we all have a spirit and it needs to be healthy. My method of healthy spirit is my relationship with the Lord. Man, also, it's crazy. Like being in full-time ministry is so interesting. One of the things I appreciate is with all the things that I do and all the content that we create, like when I was producing this content that two of the pastors were recording, it's such life-giving stuff. I edit videos for, it's called Self-Fed 365. I talked about it on here before. Like I edit videos for that, and it's so encouraging to me editing the videos, hearing what, God gave whoever, through our daily reading. But then also like when I go through stuff, it's like the people around me literally like genuinely care, and it's just such a blessing. And then, man, take care of yourself physically. Like I mean, technically I started CrossFit in May, but since November, since I'm around people that they go a lot, so that's what encourages me to keep going, or have accountability with people of what I'm doing and whatever. And so I've really been way more consistent even than I was before, and I'm feeling myself just getting stronger. And cardio, as much as I am not a fan of cardio, mainly because like the way my lungs be on fire, you know what I'm saying? However, they not burning as much as it used to burn. Like we had to do straight cardio workout for staff workout on Wednesday. So yesterday at the time of this recording, which is also the day it's going to drop. But yeah, we had to do the rower, then we had to do shuttle runs, which are not of God. And then we had to do the echo bike, which is also not of God. Out of all of those shuttle runs, it's so funny because I used to be a sprinter when I used to run track. So if you want me to sprint somewhere real quick, oh, I could do that. So my first round of shuttle runs, though, I was, a little bit too eager, and I had to like calm down a little bit because I was, you're only running, I think it was like 25 so yards, or I don't know, not yards, that's a lie, 25 something, maybe meters. I don't know, it wasn't that far, so I could sprint there real quick, but then you had to go back and forth. So back and forth is one, and I think we had to do that however many times we could do it in a minute. So I'm at first just, this is the first little mistake I made. At first I'm just going. Man, then he said 30 more seconds. And I was like, what? Oh, I'm tripping. Like, let me calm down because I can't breathe right now. It's so funny. I do what they tell me to do, but I'm such a clown in them workout classes. I be talking so much stuff, not like disrespectfully, but like burpees, not of God. And I will say this is not of God or this is whatever, but I'm getting stronger and I'm growing. And, so yeah, like I said, take care of yourself physically, be healthy in your relationships. The thing about being vulnerable with people is that sometimes when you're struggling, if people notice a shift in or a change in how you normally interact with them and they like call you out on that, because that kind of happened to me earlier this week, it's like, be vulnerable enough to say what's going on with you. Why I'm learning that that's so much better, because it's like it eliminates people thinking it's about them, like they did something wrong when it's not. And so hopefully, like, I really try to fight for unity, especially at work, just because if we're not unified as a team in what we're doing, that's an issue, you know what I mean? And I'm not someone who's like disrespectful to anyone or talking to people crazy or anything like that. But if somebody knows how I normally am and they notice a difference, it's like, if I'm called out on that, not rudely either, that's not how this went, but when I get called out on it, in that moment, I could respond one or two ways. I could get defensive, and that'll honestly make the situation worse, most likely. Or I can do what I did, which was take a moment to kind of reflect on the interaction that happened and then kind of realize, like, okay, this is, why you were ultimately triggered, and go from there, gave perspective, but also ultimately apologize, So yeah, do what you got to do to be healthy in your relationships, because life be lifing, but man, having solid people around you is such a blessing that like you really should not take for granted. I like really love, and it's so crazy because like I've been going to this church for so long that I have, deep relationships with so many people that I work with and have years of whatever. And so it's just, yeah, I'm very, very grateful for the season that I'm in now. Don't get me wrong, it's tough. And the reason why it's tough is not because the work in and of itself is hard, but who the Lord needs me to be to effectively do what I'm doing. Sometimes that's difficult because it's like healing is painful sometimes, right? And so there's like a lot of healing happening right now. And so that's the part that's tricky. And just so many wounds that I have that I just did not even realize. But man, God is so cool and so faithful that he doesn't want me to stay that way. You know what I mean? And so it's been such a great season, especially like I talk to my kids and all that, but like they don't live with me. So I'm, for the first time in my adult life, really been able to like just kind of focus on me, which has been pretty cool. So I say all that to say, man, take care of yourselves, right? So thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate the fact that y'all really be listening to me talk about my life and all that good stuff. And I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new world for...